The invitation floated in Captain Elias Reese's hand like a small star captured in glass. Even after 2 decades of service across the Orion front, 2 decades of smoke, grit, and decisions that never left a soldier's conscience, he still found himself hesitating at the threshold of the Galactic Gala. Not because he feared diplomacy, not because he disliked crowds, but because he had no idea how to act in a room filled with royalty, billionaires, and dignitaries from 26 worlds who had never once heard the thunder of plasma fire or felt the weight of a battlefield silence. He stepped through the photonic gates. Light cascaded around him, refracting off crystalline structures and floating lanterns sculpted from compressed nebula gas. Orbital dancers shimmered in the air, drifting on anti-grav currents like translucent jellyfish. The music, woven by AI synesthetes, harmonized in 9 dimensions at once. Elias exhaled slowly. Right. A gala. Just a gala. Then he saw her. At the top of the grand staircase stood Queen Vulperia, the legendary Vulpine monarch whose influence stretched across the dawn clusters. Her fur, white as a supernova's heart, shimmered with gold filaments. Behind her, fanned across marble steps like living constellations, stood her daughters, each of them radiant, elegant, and unmistakably curious. The Fox Queen's gaze fixed on him. Captain Elias Reese, she purred, her voice a velvet wind, the human who turned the tide at Viridian Reach. Welcome to my gala. He bowed, not deeply, just enough to acknowledge her rank without dishonoring his own. A pleasure, Your Majesty. Vulperia's eyes glimmered. My daughters tell me humans dance halfway between chaos and poetry. Would you care to demonstrate? A ripple of laughter echoed behind her. The princesses, 8 of them, each distinct in color, bearing sleek tails and eyes bright with mischief, leaned forward. Elias blinked. They want… what now? The queen lifted a paw delicately. Princess Lyra has claimed the first dance. After that, I believe you may be in high demand. Princess Lyra. Lyra stepped toward him, her golden fur catching every fragment of light. She moved with a confidence that suggested she had picked her partners carefully and dismissed them even more carefully. Human captain, she said, her voice melodic but edged with a playful challenge. Try to keep up. The dance floor activated under their feet with soft pulses of bioluminescent light. He placed one hand at her waist, fur soft as drifting stardust, and took her hand with the other. The music shifted, bending to their momentum. Lyra's tail swept behind her like a glowing ribbon. You've seen war, she whispered as they glided across the floor. I can smell iron and sorrow in your memory. And yet, you never lost your grace. Elias chuckled. I'm just trying not to step on your feet. She smiled, revealing a hint of sharp ivory fangs. Oh, Captain, I do hope you step on someone's. This gala could use excitement. To his surprise, she laughed freely, light and bright, when he spun her under his arm. But the moment the music ended, another voice cut through the air. My turn. Princess Soren was taller than Lyra, her fur silver blue, her eyes deep as polar seas. Where Lyra was playful, Soren was deliberate, like a strategist disguised as a dancer. You fight like a tactician, Soren said as they moved. Your footwork is defensive. Your turns avoid danger. Even in a dance, you anticipate an attack. Old habits, Elias replied. I admire old habits, she said. They save lives. Her hand lingered in his longer than he expected. She studied him with an intensity that felt almost like a battlefield assessment. He had survived worse. When the music faded, another princess stepped forward, this time with an impatient swish of her 9 tails. Princess Vea radiated fire. Crimson fur, amber eyes, steps quick enough to blur into streaks. She practically dragged him back onto the luminous floor. You dance too carefully, she declared. Humans always think someone is watching. They are, he said dryly. Then give them something to watch. The music surged. She spun him faster than either Lyra or Soren had dared. She danced like her blood was made of solar flares, and somehow, impossibly, Elias kept up. When they finished, Vea leaned close and whispered, "If my mother weren't watching, I would steal you from this gala." Elias swallowed. Okay, that was new. The cue that shouldn't exist. He barely had time to breathe before two more princesses, twins, both snow-furred and jewel-eyed, strode toward him. "Next dance is ours," they said in perfect unison. Elias looked at the queen helplessly. Vulperia smiled knowingly, her 9 tails arranged like a throne behind her. "My daughters rarely agree on anything. Consider their unanimous interest an honor. An honor. Or a diplomatic incident waiting to happen." But a soldier didn't run from impossible missions. So he danced. With twins. With the youngest princess who insisted humans had no natural rhythm. With the eldest princess who argued they had too much. With the scholar princess whose steps wrote equations in the air. With the warrior princess whose movements echoed ancient martial forms. By the time the orchestra shifted into its slower, final piece, Elias felt sweat prickling at his collar. He had survived war. He had faced artillery, ambushes, and alien horrors. But 8 princesses at once? That was a new level of endurance. The queen descended from her dais. "Captain," she said, lifting his chin with a graceful claw, "you have done more than dance. You have reminded my daughters of unity. That is a rare gift." Elias straightened. "I'm honored, Your Majesty." Her tails curled warmly. "Tell me, human veteran, do you have strength for one more dance?" He blinked. "With you?" "With me," she confirmed. And though every muscle in his body protested, he extended his hand. The queen took it. The final dance. The last song unfolded like a drifting nebula, soft, ancient, and impossibly vast. Vulperia moved with a majesty that transcended beauty. Her steps were not physical patterns but living history. "You are different from the others," she murmured. "You have known loss, and yet you still dance." "Life doesn't stop," Elias answered quietly. "No," she agreed, "but some slow to mourn. You move forward." When the music ended, she bowed to him, a real bow, one that startled every dignitary in the hall. "Tonight," she said, "you danced with a kingdom." Elias exhaled a weary laugh. "Tonight I survived your daughters," Vulperia smiled, warm and amused. "And that, Captain Reese, is a feat worthy of legend." As the lights dimmed and the gala transitioned into starlit quiet, Elias found himself surrounded again by the curious, charming, dangerous daughters of the Fox Queen, each one eager for just one more dance. He sighed. A soldier could survive anything, but this. This was diplomacy at its most exhausting, and unexpectedly, its most delightful.